More body parts come ashore. Could they be related to the torso found in Mamaroneck?
Deputy Mayor Bill Paonessa quits abruptly. Hear why.
Election village of Larchmont.
And the proposed village budget.
An anti-war protest in Mamaroneck.
Larchmont students helping soldiers serving in Iraq.
A sobering talk about teen drinking.
And visit 2 local stores with our reporters. Those stories and more coming up on this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Hello and welcome to this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Michael Witsch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Our top story. Body parts washed up on the shores of Long Island, and police suspect that they belong to the tattooed torso that came ashore in Mamaroneck. A severed human leg was found on the Nassau County estate of Cablevision CEO James Dolan, and another leg bone and foot were found ashore in Suffolk County's Cold Spring Harbor. Mamaroneck police say there are similarities present, indicating the lower extremities recovered on Long Island are that of the torso. They're awaiting further test results. The victim is a Hispanic or Black woman believed to be between 5'4" and 5'6" and between 180 and 200 pounds, with a tattoo just above her right breast of 2 red cherries on a green stem. She has not yet been identified, and anyone with information is urged to call Mamaroneck Police at 914-777-7780. Calls will be kept confidential.
Voter turnout was remarkably light in the village of Larchmont on March 20th. As reported in the Larchmont Gazette, only 204 votes were cast in this year's uncontested election. That's just 5% of the registered voters in the village. But that was enough to elect Richard Ward to his first term as trustee and to re-elect Ann McAndrews to a 4th term as trustee. Also re-elected to a 4th term, Village Justice Jerry Bernstein. This year, only the Democrats fielded candidates, and that may be the reason for the very low voter turnout. Or it may be due to the single voting location in the Larchmont Center behind the library. Mayor Liz Feld says the board will decide whether to continue in one spot or go back to the previous system, where half the districts voted at Chatsworth Avenue School. It was trustee Mike Wiener's last meeting after serving 5 years on the board. There were official proclamations along with kind words about Wiener's decades of service in the village as a volunteer firefighter, including a stint as chief of the fire department. At the same board meeting, Ann McAndrews said she'll work this term on renovations in the Palmer Avenue Business District and improvements to the Addison Street parking lot. She also repeated her call for a village administrator to help manage Larchmont's aging infrastructure. And she said she'll continue to lobby for a 4-year term of office for trustees. Democrats now dominate the Larchmont Village Board, but there's been no partisan rancor, says Mayor Feld, the sole Republican. Trustee Marlene Colbert reports, it really has been a wonderful year, she says. The atmosphere, the work ethic has been wonderful. We all respect each other. She gave the mayor high marks for her leadership, and the mayor then quipped that Washington and Albany could, quote, take a page from our little village.
Village of Mamaroneck Deputy Mayor and Trustee Bill Paonessa recently resigned abruptly during a village meeting. He spoke to us about this turn of events. Bill, you surprised an awful lot of people by basically walking out at a meeting that wasn't on the surface particularly contentious. What happened?
Well, Maura, it's a combination of things, but it was a long time in coming. I had voiced my displeasure with a lot of decisions that was happening behind closed doors, and also things that weren't happening at board meetings, like the Harbor Island Master Plan, keep revisiting it. The Fields for Kids, the meeting we went to, and then trying to get some study done at Harbor Island, not being approved. The library being sent back to go through a rework again and again. After we approved the $15.5 million bond with no strings attached, it came with strings attached, and that's very frustrating. I'd like to move forward on important issues, not rehash old ones.
had you discussed, I mean, was this something that surprised even you, that you just finally said enough?
Well, there were, in a little bit of a sense, yes. But I felt that had I spoken out how I truly felt, I'd hurt more people and myself and Phil and the board, and I don't want to disrespect anyone. There were times when I did get a little over anxious or overzealous because of how passionate I feel about this village. I've lived here 57 years. I'm not saying I'm right, and certainly we have an open forum. People come to the mic continuously, and patiently we watch and listen. But at a certain point I felt right now my feet were stuck in not mud but cement.
Well, is this a case of, should we say, sour grapes? I mean, this is the first time in a while that there's been a Democratic majority. And you guys you don't have control, the Republicans don't have control of the board. I mean, was that part of this decision? I mean, this happened, let me just say, right after you announced that you were running for re-election in the fall.
A week before, that's correct. Yeah, that's funny how those things happen. No, Phil and I first started, if you recall, as a 3-2 minority, and got a lot of things done with the prior board that we started with. This board, I just feel, somehow has an agenda that is not in tune with the public, and I think they have their own issues that they want to deal with, which they're certainly entitled to. They ran on their ticket to make change, and they're about to. But some of the things I'm looking to do are not anything to do with being a Republican or a Democrat. As one person asked me, don't make this a blue or red thing down about the fields. I said, I didn't. I voted for the fields.
Okay. Well, what's next for you? I know you're out now.
I'm out, yes.
And the mayor's looking for a replacement,
Yes,
I take
he is.
it.
That's
and
right.
a replacement running mate.
Yes, I would think so.
Okay.
I would think so.
So what's next for you?
Well, there are a lot of things that I'd still like to stay involved in. I've spoken to the library, which I'm very passionate about. I'd still like to stay with Radar because I think the youth deserve a teen center. I still also would like to help Field for Kids. This weekend, we're helping to dig the foundation, or dig out for a foundation, for the playground. I asked two good friends, Tommy DeRosa and Mark Eitri, if they could give me some of their time. They're two excellent Mamaroneck residents, and they said, without a doubt, I'll help you. So there are people we're going to continue to work with. The Chamber of Commerce is running the wine trail. We're going to do that too. So there's a lot of things that I'm still going to stay involved in. I just felt the frustration of trying to do the big picture with the board was being wasted. And I was on a lot of committees. The firehouse, we got it done finally, and others, but I just felt that now was the time to leave versus burning bridges.
So you'll still be involved in the community, just not in the politics?
I'll look at it from the other side of the bench. I may go up there one day and speak on the podium, as much as maybe I probably shouldn't. But I will certainly give support to Phil and the board in their actions. And as I say, from a public sector, I think I could probably do more because I think as a trustee, we're bound by certain conditions and rules. So I felt I should, maybe step back before my temper got the better of me, quite frankly. And it's not something I'm proud of. It's something I really want to control. But I felt I was at a point of wit's end.
Do you regret it?
I did for the first couple of nights. I literally woke up and then couldn't go back to bed. And well, that part, you have to live with your decisions. I can. And I do know that if the time is right and something happens in the future that I could help the village again, politically speaking, it would probably have to be something worthwhile for both the village and myself. But I do feel that the people who voted for me, I will still serve in any capacity that they ask. The fire department, the police department, anybody needs my help can reach out.
I'm sure the village, thanks you for your years of service. I know there are people that you wanted to thank.
Yes, it's just really, Maura, thank you that all the people who did write me and email me, and a gentleman tonight called and said, thank you, we appreciate what you did, and there are people that like you. And it's nice to know that, and I didn't do it to be liked in a sense. I did it for the reasons that I stated, that the village of Mamaroneck deserves things like artificial turf field, places for the children to recreate, a safe environment, which Harbor Island does provide, and all the other good things that I think every community wants. The library certainly deserves to be redone, and I will help that, part of it as much as I can.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in, and I hope you still won't be a stranger here, and you'll come in with your future projects.
Thanks.
Janet Bookbinder and Nancy Pearson have been endorsed by the Committee for the Selection of School Board Nominees. Bookbinder will run for a second term on the Mamaroneck School Board. Pearson is seeking election to her first term. Stepping down after 6 years of service is Cecilia Absher, the current president. Voting for trustees and the school budget and new members of the selection committee takes place in the elementary schools on May 15th. Anyone else interested in running for a seat on the school board has until April 16th to submit petitions to the district clerk. Janet Bookbinder says that her first 3 years on the board have been ones of transition, referring to the resignation of former Superintendent Sherry King and the hiring of current Superintendent Paul Freed. She told the Larchmont Gazette that she's looking forward to more in-depth conversation about teaching and learning. She also supports the proposed directors at the high school. Personnel, she says, who will have the time and ability to focus on areas of interest for each department. I see it as a collegial kind of role, she says. Besides her duties on the board, Bookbinder is the coordinator of RADAR, which stands for Responsible Action, a Drug and Alcohol Resource. And she's spearheaded the Communities That Care program, helping to obtain a drug-free community grant of $500,000. She's also served as PTSA president at Mamaroneck High School, as well as president of the PTA Council. Nancy Pearson, seeking her first term on the school board, is a two-time president of the Special Education PTA, that's SEPTA, and she's past president of the PTA Council and Mamaroneck High School PTSA. She's the mother of 2 Mamaroneck High School graduates and a current sophomore at the high school. She's worked as a teacher and speech and language therapist in special education classrooms. During the past decade, she's been a parent member of the Committee for Special Education and the Committee for Preschool Special Education, participating in more than 50 meetings a year. She told the Gazette that she's looking forward to being the voice on the board for special education, and she applauded School Superintendent Freed's decision to put guidance and special education under the same organizational umbrella. Although the selection committee has endorsed these 2 candidates, others may still run for the board. The district clerk has to receive a petition with at least 48 signatures from district residents by April 16. The selection committee itself is seeking candidates who will be elected on May 15th as well. 2 positions are open at Central and Mamaroneck Avenue schools and 3 at Chatsworth and Murray. Applications can be found on the selection committee's website. That's www.selectioncommittee.org under membership information, and they must be submitted by the 3rd week of April.
The Village of Larchmont unveiled its tentative budget for 2007-08, bearing a 3.9% increase in spending over last year, which correlates to a 7.6% increase in taxes. But as Mayor Feld said, now's the time for the hard work of reducing the numbers. For example, the almost 8% tax increase in the proposed budget last year ultimately was whittled down to 4.5%. Now, one possible solution this year is to allocate funds from the village surplus, which now is about $1.75 million. According to Mayor Feld, for every $100,000 applied, the tax increase goes down by a percentage point. Also being considered are ways to cut employee overtime by, for example, hiring more staff rather than paying time and a half or double time. The village board also will look at taking some capital items out of the operating budget and instead financing through bonds or borrowing. There will be a board work session on Wednesday, April 4th at 7 p.m. and public hearings at 7 p.m. on April 11th and 23rd. The deadline for adopting a budget is April 30th.
Metro North riders will see increased police patrols and random bag searches as the railroad ramps up security. According to the Journal News, federal marshals from the Transportation Security Administration, as well as state, county, and local police will patrol Metro North, Long Island Railroad, and the Staten Island Railway. The MTA is looking for Congress to increase funding for security on rail and mass transit. They say the federal government now spends $7.50 per capita on aviation security compared to just 15 cents per capita on mass transit security. Ongoing deployment on commuter railroads. The MTA has set aside $3 million to $5 million for police overtime and is lobbying Congress and the President to approve legislation that would provide $6 billion for transit security, including $600 million a year to fund security for mass transit. MTA officials said there were no specific threats against the system, that the extra police presence on commuter rail lines was intended to provide a visible deterrent that would thwart any potential terrorist attack and make riders feel safer. They cited the recent attacks in Mumbai, India, and Madrid, Spain, and in London as examples of what harm terrorists can do when a transit system is targeted.
Local elementary school students are providing support for U.S. troops in Iraq. Maury Avenue School's 5th grade teacher Ethan Revelle has a brother-in-law serving in Iraq as a medical technician in the 399th Combat Support Hospital Unit, presently stationed just outside Baghdad. Revelle is leading a collection drive at the school to provide the unit with needed supplies and good cheer. He says that Alex, or Sergeant Alessandro Licapoli, and his unit really appreciate receiving packages, letters, and cards, especially from children. Murray Avenue students are donating packaged snacks like trail mix, beef jerky, nuts, energy bars, sunflower seeds, ready-to-eat tuna or chicken salad kits, Girl Scout cookies, and the like, toys such as Beanie Babies and novelty items, and assorted supplies and sundries like DVDs, CDs, batteries, disposable cameras, prepaid phone cards, travel-sized board games, handheld electronic games, and hand and foot warmers. The list goes on and on. But if you'd like to help, a complete list can be found at Give to the Troops, and that's give number 2, thetroops.org/PDF/complete list of items to donate gtt.pdf. Revelle also says that anyone wishing to contribute may bring items to his classroom at Murray Avenue School or contact him at Revelle, that's R-I-V-E-L, at Mamaroneck, mamkschools.org.
Opponents of the Iraq War gathered at the Mamaroneck train station for a candlelight vigil on March 20th. The event was part of a nationwide protest organized by the political action group MoveOn.org to mark the 4th the war. About 100 people attended, including residents of Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and Rye. The vigil began with the reading of the names of servicemen and women from New York who have died in the war, and included some letters from their parents about their children.
Westchester bus riders, you need your card. What card? Amy Schachtel knows.
Starting this week, you can pay your Beeline bus fare with a Metro card. The cards are available with a dollar value, such as $10 or $20, or with unlimited rides for a fixed period. The 7-day unlimited ride Metro card costs $24. A 30-day Metro card is $76. Dozens of delis, check cashing businesses, stationery, and corner stores are now selling regular cards, and you can also buy them at Metro North train stations and New York City subway stations, and there are some discounts for riders who are senior citizens or have disabilities. But you have to apply for those cards at the Westchester County Center. The sales office there is open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Paratransit riders will not need a Metro card. If you have questions or need to find where to buy a card, call the Beeline at 914-813-7777. While the Metro card is convenient, bus drivers will still accept payment in coin only for your ride. Reporting for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Amy Schachtel.
New life for an old institution? Not me, but a Larchmont store. Don Lewis has more. Was it you?
After nearly 50 years, it was time for a change. The Larchmont store began in the 1960s as a 5-and-dime store on Palmer Avenue. The modern age of business caught up with it a while back, and the old owner finally retired. Enter the Starpoli brothers, Jim, Jeff, and Joe. They've owned Active Sports, the sporting goods store directly across the street, for the past 18 years. They bought the Larchmont store last summer. They've done a wonderful job bringing it into the 21st century by using some basic forms of promotion, direct mail, and word of mouth from all the customers of their sporting goods store. They renovated their store and updated the stock. They carry full lines of toys, crafts, camp supplies, gifts, and party supplies, just to name a few. They still have approximately 30% of the store to finish and stock. They've set a goal of 1 year to establish the store's general direction. The Starpoli family goes back 4 generations in Larchmont, and the brothers' great-uncle Jim Starpoli was once the village's chief of police. For LMC-TV Community News, I'm Don Lewis.
Parents, pay attention. Amy Schachtel tells of an upcoming event that you don't want to miss.
Parents of middle and high school teens, please be aware and make note of an upcoming meeting regarding the health, legal, and of course safety issues of underage drinking and drug use. The date to mark down is April 12th, 7 p.m. at the Homix Auditorium. Westchester County District Attorney Janet Fiore will be joined by municipal leaders and local law officials. This campaign for awareness and instruction will help you and your kids have a better communication regarding drugs and underage drinking. Not only will you learn the health and safety risk of underage drinking, but also learn the legal consequences of providing alcohol to minors, even in your homes. Once again, the date is April 12th, 7 p.m. at the Homix Auditorium. For Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Amy Schachtel.
Maura, sometimes reporters have all the fun. Wendy Deshay went shopping for clothes while filing this story.
It is no secret that women love to shop. And now with the opening of E.B. Barrett on Palmer Avenue, right here in the center of Larchmont, mothers and daughters can explore the world of fashion together.
Well, the idea behind it was mother-daughter shopping. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I would take her shopping from like 12 years on. And all the stores were geared either towards her or towards me. So I thought it would be nice to have a store where I could go with my daughter and buy things for myself and buy things for her at the same time.
E.B. Barrett also carries the best labels at every price point, like Seven and Ella Moss. Even Oprah credits the designers that you find in this fabulous store. Now, denim is huge.
Right.
For
we
the
have
season.
a variety of denim lines. You know, a mom can come in here and find a higher rise boot cut or skinny leg for herself, and her daughter can come in and buy a jean like a Hudson jean that's a very low cut, fitted, junior-y kind of line.
Ellen's shop carries everything from fun summer shorts to party dresses fit for that prom diva or sophisticated mom on a special night out.
I mean, anyone could wear that dress.
That is
teenager, a mom. It's beautiful.
Yep, beautiful
as well
cocktail.
As this one.
So, the question women all want to ask? So, price point goes from?
It goes from small accessories. You know, we have little necklaces or gift items that could be $12, and it goes all the way up to these dresses. Some of these dresses go up to $450.
So the next time your daughter comes home asking for a new pair of jeans, forget the overcrowded department store. E.B. Barrett is so cute, and it's where it's at here in Larchmont. And moms, you can bring home something fun too. I'm going to try this on now. Get out of here. It's time for me to shop. Yay! For LMC News, I'm Wendy Deshay.
And that's it for this week's edition of Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News.
If you'd like to see this news show again, you can. It's on every weekday night at 7 p.m. and we record one show each week. It's replayed on this channel, LMC-TV channel 75.
Or if you want to request to see it, you can call LMC-TV after 4 in the afternoon during the week at 698-6808 and ask to see the news show. Dina will try to put it on at a time that's convenient for you to watch.
This reminder, our program is an all-volunteer effort and we could sure use a few more volunteers, either behind the scenes or as a reporter. Or maybe you'd like to shoot some video. Whatever the case, we need you.
In short, if you want to volunteer to help us put this program on, we've got something for you to do. Stop by some Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios and see how we do what we do.
Of course, by now, you know that the studios are in Mamaroneck High School, Palmer Avenue side, just up the stairs from the landmark Walter's Hot Dog Stand. We get things started around 7 p.m. and we'd love to see you.
Also, if you have any comments or suggestions or some video of an event that you'd like us to put on this news show, bring it to the studio or write to us at Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News in care of LMC-TV, Mamaroneck Town Center, 740 West Boston Post Road, Mamaroneck, New York, 10543.
Thanks again for watching this edition of Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Mike Witch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. We'll see you next time. big nor'easter hits area and Mamaroneck is hit hard.
Local officials seek federal aid.
And consider larger regional solutions.
Learn how you can help local victims.
And find out who's running for the school board.
And local events you'll be sorry you missed. Those stories and more coming up on this edition of Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News. Hello and welcome to Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Sven Oehme.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Our top story. The storm of April 15th turned Mamaroneck into a state disaster site. Governor Spitzer visited and toured the community, calling Mamaroneck the epicenter of the storm. As of April 21st, local officials still are waiting to hear that the area is a federal disaster site, and they're hoping to know by the end of April. Joining the governor and other state and county officials in seeking federal assistance are Senators Hillary Clinton and Charles Schumer and Representative Nita Lowey, all of whom have toured the area. Village of Mamaroneck Mayor Phil Trifoletti is very pleased with their response.
I went to the three of them and their arms were wide open to try and help us, which is kind of gratifying, and they all understand the severity of what happened here in the village.
Teams from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, toured the area for 2 days as part of the process in having the community declared a federal disaster area. Federal assistance would bring grants and loans to businesses and residents devastated by the storm. Residents were evacuated from homes, including the multi-building Avalon apartment complex on Mamaroneck Avenue.
The fireman said to me, "I'm going to lift you now, lift your feet, and I'm going to put you in the boat." I was very nervous, very anxiety already, and then somebody's picking me up. So he put me in the boat. We went up the side street of the Avalon to Mamaroneck Avenue and turned towards the train station. We could see at that point how much damage was going on. It was only about 3 in the morning, and we could see that the A&P was totally underwater. Pitch black, quiet as can be, except for this boat running along, and just water all around us in a familiar neighborhood. We know that neighborhood because we've lived there, and just this dirty water, this terrible smell. And it was like a ghost town filled with water.
They took me from my neighbor's house in a payloader. I went from my house to my neighbor's house figuring I could move up a little closer, safe out of the water. And when her house was starting to go under, the village people, the men, picked us all up in payloaders, took us to a safe piece of land.
My sister, who's the homeowner, I know the water's been up to her bed. It's 3 feet of water in my hallway, up those steps, through
up
that
the
door.
Stairs, all the way
Yeah,
up there, 3 feet of water.
3 feet of water in my hallway. And it's a disaster.
Local safety officials had Con Edison shut down electric and gas to prevent more hazardous conditions, and for days the National Guard directed traffic on Mamaroneck Avenue. The Red Cross has a relief center in the Post Road Gym at Mamaroneck High School. And for many, this was the second damaging storm in just over a month.
This is my 7th flood.
Since when?
29 years I've been living here, and the last 2 have been a complete disaster.
Mamaroneck Village Mayor Phil Trifoletti estimates that at least 1,000 homes and businesses suffered damage in the village of Mamaroneck alone.
If you go up and down our streets, you see the entire contents of their homes. If you go through the business community in the industrial area and in Washingtonville, a lot of businesses were totally wiped out and can't absorb the expenses it's going to take for them to go back into business.
The village will be holding meetings for businesses and residents to find out what they need and how the village can help. Businesses will meet on April 24th at 5 p.m. at the village courthouse. And on April 30th, residents can gather at the First Baptist Church on Howard Avenue. The meeting also will be aired on LMC-TV. Also, Mayor Trifoletti is particularly excited that there is momentum to review the 1976 Army Corps plan for the Sheldrake and Mamaroneck rivers and put a stop to the flooding, which is coming more easily and more often.
I believe something will come out of it. I don't think it's going to be lip service like it was the last time around, where they did a small amount, even though everyone's intentions was to do a lot more. This time it looks like what's happening is that we keep on getting flooded, and if we keep on doing this, I mean, the large portions of the village won't be viable any longer, and we need to stop that. And I think that message is out there.
County Legislator Judy Myers came in to discuss the bigger picture, getting help and preventing the flooding.
We're seeing a higher water table. We are definitely seeing the impact of storms in this area is quite great. And we're seeing especially more flooding. There is definitely more water coming through our rivers on its way to the Long Island Sound. And we have become, not that we weren't before, but we've become an even bigger drain for Westchester County. As the water needs to come down and get out to Long Island Sound, we are the drain, literally.
You know, I spoke with Village Mamaroneck Mayor Phil Trifoletti, who said that his concern, part of his concern is that this has to be dealt with on a higher level, that the village alone can't handle it.
It's ridiculous to require each municipality to deal with this alone, because it will be far more effective and efficient to have this dealt with on a regional basis, which is why we need the county, the state, and ultimately the federal government to become involved. I believe we need regional planning ultimately. Because we don't have that currently. We have each and every municipality planning its own land use, and we need to take into consideration the fact that we're all neighbors and that we all impact each other greatly, so that whenever a zoning board of appeals meets and gives a variance to a builder, a variance to a homeowner, there can be, while there may not be an impact in that municipality, there can be an impact farther down as the river comes through and takes the extra water. I would predict that we will be able to get much more momentum in terms of bringing the municipalities together, and I think the municipalities are eager to begin to work with each other.
For right now, the village's top priority is getting help to those who need it.
The village needs to put back the lives of the residents that were affected by this and the business owners, and that we will work with anyone and anybody to get to that point. And we will do anything we can for the residents and the business owners to help them get back to normal.
At least one death was related to the flooding, as it delayed the response time to fire emergency. Longtime Mamaroneck resident Jack Kirsch died on April 16th on his 78th birthday when fire consumed his home, and it took at least 30 minutes for responders to arrive. Mamaroneck responders were delayed in reaching the Harbor Heights home because they had to go around Mamaroneck Avenue, which was severely flooded. West Harrison firefighters arrived first at 243 Norwood Avenue and pulled him from the second floor under very severe conditions, according to Mamaroneck Village Deputy Chief Kevin Delner. His wife was able to escape, but due to illness, Kirsch needed assistance. Village fire officials currently are reviewing the timeline and issues of responding. Our sympathies go to the Kirsch family.
Westchester County also is concerned about flood cleanups and safety issues and has issued warnings posted on its website, www.westchestergov.com. Some very important points. First, throw away any food that's come in contact with floodwater. Some canned foods may be okay, but if they're dented or damaged, throw them away. Food contaminated by floodwater can cause severe infections. Also, food in your freezer or refrigerator is okay if power was out for less than 2 hours. But if it's longer than that, check the county website for more specific information. If your house is flooded, call your town or village to ask if they can help pump out, especially if there's any raw sewage or oil in the floodwater. You must assume that anything that came in contact with the floodwater is contaminated, so wash your hands often, wear rubber gloves and boots as an extra precaution. Salvageable items must be disinfected, and one suggested solution is made of 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Also, so many people want to help the flood victims. At the end of this show, we will have information about how you can help, so please stay tuned.
In other news, the village board in Mamaroneck has been through some significant changes. At the end of March, Deputy Mayor William Ponessa resigned from his post without giving the village board an official explanation of his unexpected departure. Mayor Philip Trifiletti replaced Ponessa with Tony Fava, who is a Republican and a lifelong village resident. He owns and operates an independent insurance agency in the village on Mamaroneck Avenue. Furthermore, Fava is chairman of the Washingtonville Neighborhood Program, a volunteer deputy sheriff for Westchester County, and also a member of the Board of Traffic Commissioners in the village. In the eyes of some Democrats in the village, Fava, however, carries some political baggage. The main issue for the Democrats is Fava's involvement in the federal lawsuit concerning the issue of day laborers in the village of Mamaroneck. Mamaroneck Democrat Beth Hofstetter was quoted in the Journal News saying at a village board meeting, "I was appalled that the mayor would appoint Fava to a position of trust and leadership in the community. He was definitely one of the people who caused the federal lawsuit." End of quote. Fava's response was that he had testified in court to the benefit of the village and that he was only a witness, not a party to the lawsuit at the time of his testimony. Democrats in the village seem to think differently and point to last year's court decision in the case of the day laborers in Mamaroneck. In November of last year, federal judge Carlin had ruled that village officials and the Mamaroneck Police Department had to arrest day laborers and the contractors who hired them in a racially motivated attempt to reduce the number of day laborers who gathered in the village looking for work. McMahon's 76-page decision referred to Fava and former village trustee Joe Angeletta as perpetrators of the discriminatory behavior that was the subject of this lawsuit. End of quote. Mayor Trifiletti stands by his appointment and believes Hofstetter's behavior was disgraceful.
On April 8th, a $28 million budget was presented to the Village of Mamaroneck Board of Trustees. Now that's a 7.3% increase over last year, with a tax rate hike of 8.9%, or just over $268 per $1,000 of assessed value. Well, now's the time when the numbers are to be crunched and reduce the increases to taxpayers. I asked Mayor Trifiletti how the disaster may impact the budget and the process. We'll keep you posted.
Democratic New York State Assemblyman George Latimer has informed the residents of his district that the recently adopted New York State budget for 2007 and 8 contains some good news for the village of Larchmont and the town of Mamaroneck. In the proposal by Governor Spitzer, the two communities had been excluded from receiving state revenue sharing funds. The adopted budget has now reinstated the funds to last year's level, plus a 3% increase that other communities also receive. The village of Larchmont will receive $76,900 and the town of Mamaroneck will receive a total of $149,900.
Many Westchester communities have been complaining that the new New York State budget drove education money away from Westchester County and into Long Island. The Mamaroneck School District, though, seems to have fared well. According to Joan Rosen, the district is getting about $80,000 more than expected for a total of about $8 million in state aid. Another controversial education funding issue involved the state budget's boost to universal pre-kindergarten programs for an increase statewide of nearly $146 million. While our district does have a pre-K at the Mamaroneck Avenue School, Rosen told me it's not a universal pre-K. That is, it's not offered to everyone in the district, so it does not qualify for this aid.
In other school news, Mike Witch tells us who's running and who's not.
There will be no contest for the 2 seats on the Mamaroneck Schools Board of Education. The district clerk says she received no new petitions by the April 17th deadline, so incumbent trustee Janet Bookbinder and newcomer Nancy Pearson, both endorsed by the School Board Selection Committee, are expected to win seats on Election Day, May 15th. Voters will also elect some new members of the Selection Committee. Of course, the biggest decision will be on the proposed budget, a $112 million plan that the board adopted last week. That amount is a 7.81% spending increase over this year, and it means a tax hike of 6.45%. According to a fact sheet on the district's website, the difference between the budget and the tax increase is due to an increase in assessed property valuation, as well as an increase in state aid this year. Additional funds, say the district, are required to meet mandated and contractual obligations, as well as changes in enrollment, the diversity of the student body, and security issues. For details, you can visit the district's website, that's mamkschools.org, and search the district-wide information link. We've invited school board members to talk more about the budget on future newscasts. In the meantime, mark your calendars to vote on May 15th in your local elementary school, and make sure you're registered. If you voted in a general election or a school election in the past 4 years, you are already registered. Otherwise, you can register in person on May 9th. That's voter registration day in the Mamaroneck schools, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Mamaroneck High School. You can also call the school district and ask for an absentee ballot if you know you'll be out of town on voting day. For more information, contact the school district clerk. Reporting for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Mike Witch.
Glenna Gray tells of an important meeting to prevent teen alcohol and substance abuse.
The residents who attended the monthly summit meeting held on April 17th at the Nautilus Diner heard a message concerning the need to combat drinking and drug abuse by teenage people. In order to deal with this local problem, many adults must join hands through the local school system, the PTA, individual parents, civic groups, business and faith-based groups, the police, the local government, physicians, and all the media must all form a link. In recent times, younger children are abusing alcohol and drugs. The young people must be educated to see the personal harm they do to themselves and to their families. The local summit continues to educate our community in order to strengthen our neighborhoods. For further information, you may call 834-0192, and you will find out about the summit. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
The Faith Club authors are returning to the area. Amy Schachtel knows how you can attend.
On Thursday, May 3rd, 11:30 at the Shore Club, 3 very special authors will be speaking at a luncheon sponsored by the Women's Guild and St. John and Paul's Church. Priscilla Warner of Larchmont and Rania Idlibi and Suzanne Oliver, both of New York City, together have written a book called The Faith Club. This bestseller discusses a 3-year span that these 3 women explored in their 3 individual beliefs of Episcopalian, Muslim, and the Jewish faith. The book deals with their differences and similarities. Warner, Idlibi, and Oliver came to each other after the 9/11 tragedy to write a children's book about the commonality of their 3 religious backgrounds, and that is when the Faith Club began. There is also a website with much more information, and that address is www.thefaithclub.com. Once again, save the date, May 3rd at 11:30. Tickets are $40 per person for the lecture and the luncheon, and you can call Patricia Howard at 833-2434. That's 833-2434. Ask for Patricia Howard to reserve your space for this very special event. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Amy Schachtel.
A tree grows in Mamaroneck, or can. Glenna Gray provides the roots.
On Wednesday, April 18th, 2007, the local League of Women Voters hosted an environment forum of climate change, storms, and the role of trees. The Village of Mamaroneck Mayor's Advisory Committee on Water Quality co-sponsored the event. We heard many interesting facts and information for all residents here in Tree City, USA. Celebrate Green Week, April 21st through the 28th. This week includes Earth Day and Arbor Day. Trees are needed around the world, and you can help. All guests received a tree sapling to plant. For further information, go online to www.watp.org/LWV/LM/, or you may use ERADOW@CUDDYFEDER.com. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
So many in our community want to help those that lost so much in the floods, and the relief agencies are working to coordinate their efforts. Mike Witch spoke to Dave Curry of the United Way.
Dave Curry, thank you for coming to our studio.
My pleasure.
There was a meeting last week of many individuals and organizations who are organizing to help.
Yes.
And how can people help right now?
Well, there are a variety of ways that a variety of challenges and a variety of resources that we can bring to bear as a community on the response to the recent flooding. And one of the most obvious is marshaling the generosity of our residents.
Send money.
Send money.
Yes.
So we have, there are several groups that, of course, you can write or send a donation to whatever organization is your favorite, and there are many of them involved in relief.
There's United Way, obviously. There's the Hispanic Resource Center.
Washingtonville Housing Alliance, the CAP Center, the Food Pantry, Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force. All of those folks do that kind of work. The United Way is a little bit different in that we will do a county-wide kind of approach, and we will we support agencies. Those groups that we've talked about that are local are providing direct services to the individuals. We provide support to the agencies.
Now, if I were to write a check to, let's say, the Washingtonville Housing Alliance, how am I sure that that money is going to go for flood relief?
So, in all instances, whichever organization you're sending this donation to, make sure in the memo that on the bottom of the check that you put in April flood or Mamaroneck flood relief, or anything of that nature that indicates to the recipient, the organization, that they need to segregate that from the normal processing.
Now, you told me earlier that some of the things people need now are big ticket items: electrical panels, furnaces, hot water heaters, not something you'd find in your attic.
Right.
And that's what the money would go for.
And that's a lot of that is what the money would go for. There's also and not directly from these agencies, but by accessing the system, there can be money for rental assistance through DSS. Or everybody needs to qualify in different ways, and it's a fairly complicated process that we've embarked on, and we will continue to embark on, a case management process, so helping families one by one. But yeah, boilers and things like that. The March 2nd floods that we had, we recognize from those who applied for financial assistance that the average cost per household, and these are homeowners, is in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. So, and those are just the major things. Then there are many minor things, furniture and clothing and all of those sorts of things for which we'll organize fairs.
Now, you don't want people to clean out their attics at this point and bring them to someplace.
To someplace. Those places, that's one of the biggest challenges we have as a community. We don't have a space that we can easily commandeer, for lack of a better word, to use in these kinds of situations or for other purposes for that matter.
So what should people do who have clothing or have an item of furniture, something maybe as big as a refrigerator that they'd like to donate?
Right. Well, I think the easiest way to respond to that is to say, call the United Way's 211 service. If you can't get through on 211, it's more than likely that you have a cable telephone. There's an 800 number, and we'll, I hope, post that later.
Well, how do you access the 211, the United Way 211?
You pick up the phone and you dial 211 and identify that you're a person who wishes to help by making donations of whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's the refrigerator that you spoke of, any of those kinds of things, then 211 will act as a sort of central clearinghouse and then get that information to the agency. I'd also say check LMC-TV, check the local news outlets for these fairs and the names of the organizations. They'll become quite familiar to folks, we hope, over the next 2 weeks as we strive to get that information out.
Well, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for the work that United Way and, by extension, all of the other organizations that individuals are doing in this community.
It's a tremendous group to work with. I'm honored. Thank you.
Can you imagine an historian being treated like a rock star by high school students? Glenna Gray can and explains.
On April 20th, 2007, some students of Mamaroneck High School had an opportunity to meet and listen to Professor Alan Brinkley of Columbia University. Professor Brinkley is the author of their American History, a survey which is the textbook for the advanced placement students. The students were overjoyed to listen to the author's thoughts. Professor Brinkley's lecture gave light to the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s and the 30s. He explained this era was an exciting time for the people of Harlem, as well as for the political figures, the literary people, the musicians, and for many of the residents of Harlem. At this time, Harlem was buzzing with positive ideas and positive movements. This lecture was the third event in a series funded by a grant from the Mamaroneck Schools Foundation. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
And thanks again for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Sven Riemann.
And I'm Maura Carlin. We'll see you next week. Federal disaster relief, what you can get and how you can get it.
And what the community is doing to help.
And how you can get involved.
Who's staying and who's going in the Mamaroneck School District.
A new ball field opens.
And how you can exercise your inner Spielberg. Those stories and more coming up on this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Mike Witch, sitting in for Sven Ome.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Our top story. Federal relief is coming to Mamaroneck flood victims. President Bush signed the declaration of emergency the day after Senator Hillary Clinton toured the area with R. David Paulson, head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. What does this mean for the community? Residents are eligible for up to $28,200 to make repairs not covered by private insurance, and businesses are eligible for low-interest loans. However, as of now, the federal order does not provide money for local governments, like the town and village of Mamaroneck, to offset their costs from the storm. FEMA has set up a disaster recovery center at Mamaroneck Town Center to answer questions and take relief applications. FEMA encourages you to apply even if you're not sure you should.
As we say, you don't know if you're qualified unless you apply.
FEMA also had some advice to protect yourself from possible inspector scam.
The day that the inspector comes to visit,
Yes.
you should not have to give him this case number.
He should come prepared.
Right, and if you feel suspicious in any way, call back the toll-free number.
Both Senator Clinton and Representative Lowy acknowledged the need to seek long-term solutions to prevent flooding.
We also need to have a meeting of the minds with the Army Corps of Engineers and with the state. This can't keep happening.
We have to do whatever we can with the county and our local officials to prevent this from happening again.
if you have submitted estimates to any of the municipalities, please note you still must apply under FEMA. Those estimates were to help Westchester County lobby for federal aid. Now, Mamaroneck Town Supervisor Valerie O'Keefe came in to tell people what they need to do to get federal relief.
FEMA relief, the easiest way for them to do it is to actually go on the FEMA website. It's www.fema.gov. That's the simplest way to do it.
Okay, but what if you don't have access
If you
to a
don't
computer?
have access, you don't like websites, you don't want to do it that way, you can go on the phone. And if you go on the phone, you go to 1-800-462-7585. Those are the two easiest ways to do it. If you want to go to our office, which is now in the town center at 740 West Boston Post Road, the old central school, which is next to the high school football field, when you get in there, they will help you do it on the telephone.
What kinds of information do you need to have?
Well, you should have a pencil and paper with you.
Okay.
And there's certain things you should have. You should know your social security number. You should have a description of your losses, and that would mean your physical house, what was in the house, food, clothes, electronics, furniture.
Do you
So
need
you know what it
photographs?
is. You don't have to have photographs. It's better if you do have photographs. You should have insurance information, what insurance you did have on your house, what insurance, if you had no insurance, that's true too, what the insurance company was, whether or not the insurance company has turned you down, whether you've made applications for the insurance. Then you want to have driving directions to your damaged property. So the FEMA people, if you say that your first and second floor got wiped away, you want to be able to say, I live on Weaver Street or I live on the Boston Post Road, and how to get there, in case they ask you that. And you should have a telephone number or numbers where you can be reached. This is what you can expect after you've applied. You can expect an inspection. They'll come and inspect your premises. And then, within 10 days of the inspector's visit, which should happen soon, you will receive a letter from FEMA informing you of the decision about your request for assistance. Now, if you are eligible for help, the letter will be followed up by a U.S. Treasury check, or state U.S. or a check from the state, or there will be a transfer of cash to your bank account. That's if you're accepted. The letter will explain that money can be used to pay what it can be used to pay for. You should use the money given to you as explained in the letter. I think that if you get the money, they don't expect you to take a trip to London with it.
Right.
Now, if you're not accepted, or if you're not eligible, the letter will tell you why you're not eligible, and you will be informed of your rights to appeal. Now, if you were referred to the Small Business Administration, if you're a business person, the SBA for help from the SBA Direct Disaster Assistance Program, you will receive an SBA application. Now, you can find all this information on the town website, which is www.townofmamaroneck.org. If you have losses only in your business, like you have rental property or you have a store, you don't have to go to FEMA. You can apply directly to the Small Business Administration. However, I went down this morning and talked to the SBA boss in the town center, and he told me they recommend that even if it's not in a residence, that you first apply and get to FEMA. You will be given a case number that'll come, they'll give you on the phone or they'll give you online. Then when you go to the Small Business Administration, it just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to, but for administrative purposes, that's the way to go.
Right, and there's no harm in applying through
No.
FEMA. Now, what happens if you need help quickly?
If you need help quickly, you come right to the town center, which is at 740 Boston Post Road. And at the town center, there are all kinds of people in the downstairs that are ready to help you. You have the FEMA people there, you have the small business people, but more importantly, you have the American Red Cross who can help you to refer you for different mental health things, clothes, food. You have the New York State Insurance Department for any inquiries with respect to insurance, like the insurance you have on your place, whether it was, whether you had flood insurance or didn't have flood insurance, whatever you've lost. There's also the New York State Housing and Community Renewal people down there. If you don't have a place to live, if you're a Section 8 person, if you need to go to a motel, if you need money to pay for an apartment, those people will help you right away. We have Westchester County Social Services there for welfare checks to get people temporary housing. We have hazard mitigation in there, which gives out information for if you have, I think, oil in your basement, things like that. They give you the health department. The FEMA application assistance, you have people in there to help you fill out the FEMA request. So basically what we're trying to provide in the town center is one-stop stopping. You go in there, shopping. You go in there and you can go from place to place and they'll refer you. You start with the FEMA people and they'll send you wherever. If you have mental health issues, if you have depression, if you have anxiety, which is very common after these kind of disasters, there are people there who are counselors who can talk to you right then and there, or they can make an appointment for you to go talk to somebody. It's very important that people don't feel frightened, even though in their whole lives they've never sought any kind of emotional counseling, that they go to their church or synagogue or minister, or they come over to the Red Cross and we will help them. There will also be Spanish-speaking mental health counselors there that come from the Hispanic women leaders. There are psychiatrists and psychologists who are Spanish-speaking, who are conversant with the culture of the people who don't speak English or wherever they came from. If you're an English-speaking person, we'll help you that way. But I think it's very, very important not to be embarrassed to seek. You're going to go in there and ask for money. You're going to ask for help to clean your place. Emotionally, the people who've been hit hard are under tremendous strain. And when we know the longer it goes and they're still displaced, the more likely it is to have emotional problems and family problems.
You want people to know there really is a place to go,
Yes.
and there's lots of help waiting for them.
Lots of help waiting for them.
What about people or businesses for whom FEMA is not provided?
Okay,
Many people will have lost more than
businesses,
what
it's
FEMA
now
allows.
the Small Business Administration.
It's loans.
It's a different place, and yes, and they go in there and they find out what the loans are or how to get help. I don't know all the ins and outs of that as much as FEMA, but there's definitely a website that they can go to there. The Small Business Administration has a website which is on our, that's on our.
And there's also a phone
town
number, which is 800-659-2955.
Okay, that's the small business, and they're in there. They will also be helping and working with, the Small Business Administration will be working with the Chamber of Commerce in the village of Mamaroneck and to see how they can help people. They're going to go right to them so that they can have a meeting of the whole Chamber of Commerce to meet with the Small Business Administration. They will go to them rather than having all of the business people come running to the town center. We had over 30 business people come this morning to today to the town center. The FEMA office and the helping office is open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 740 West Boston Post Road, 7 days a week.
7 days.
So if people are working and they're hourly wage earners or whatever, and they can't get away from their jobs to come in there during regular, quote, business hours, the place is open on the weekend. It's open till 7 o'clock at night.
Okay,
So that's good.
That's great. Did we get through all the different services?
So I think we did.
County social services?
Yes,
we did.
The county social services can give people help right away. It's, money and places to live and food. We can, if they're in trouble, we can help them right away. Now, we do have not-for-profit organizations who work in the community or local that are also very, very effective and very important in this whole effort to help people.
Right, and we go through a lot of them later in the show, but there is one that you know about that I didn't know about.
Well,
so.
what we did do is the village of Mamaroneck and the town of Mamaroneck have put together a fund which is called Town of Mamaroneck Community Service Flood Relief.
Okay.
And what we are doing is we're collecting money. We already have $12,000.
Is that right?
And we also collected huge amounts of cards that we're trying to get.
To stores.
For
Gift
stores,
cards.
for A&P or Stop and Shop or CVS, or what we actually need are cards from Target and Kohl's so people can get clothes. We're collecting those, and they're being given out through our social service department in the town in cooperation with the village, our community service office. What we're doing with the money that we've collected, we are going to be working through iCare, which is a not-for-profit organization which has its headquarters in the town center. It's been in business for 20 years. It owns housing in the village of Larchmont, the village of Mamaroneck, and the town. And we're going to use their tax identification. We're going to use their good offices to make the donations to the Town of Mamaroneck Community Service Flood Relief Fund. They're going to open a new flood relief fund, iCare, and we'll be able to take the money, put it through that account. Everyone will get a free tax, will get a tax deduction, and the community service people and the two mayors of the two communities and a member of iCare, I think former Supervisor Carlin Silverstone, will make the decisions on where the money goes, and we're going to keep it all in Mamaroneck, and there'll be no administrative costs, and we're going to try to get it out to the people as quickly as possible.
So if you want to donate, you make your check out to the Town of Mamaroneck Community Services Flood Relief Fund, and you mail it to the town?
740 West Boston Post Road. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't give money to the Red Cross, to the Washingtonville
Right,
Housing
and all
Alliance,
the-
United Way,
Right.
Hispanic Resource Center. I mean, we're all working together, so
Right.
we're not stepping on each other's feet. And these not-for-profits will be meeting once a week to be sure that nobody is taking advantage of this system by going from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then getting help from each one of these.
But you're
things.
also making sure that everyone who needs help
Everyone that
gets
needs
it.
help will get it, and we'll get it as quickly as possible. We've had some very generous donations from Graziano's undertaking establishment. We got a big gift, and we got a big gift from a lady in the unincorporated area, and now we got another, churches gave us $1,000, one church, so the money's coming in. And this is a place where people who know us, who don't know the other organizations, who would give it to us, people who know the other organizations know how well they do, and they give it to them, just to put the net wider to get contributions. But we're all going to be working very carefully together to try to get the money out to the people as quickly as possible.
If there's one bright spot in this disaster, it's the willingness and desire of the community to help those affected. Everyone wants to help. And here are some ways that you can. Habitat for Humanity is helping to rehabilitate homes. They need volunteers every day to clean, gut, do assessments, and like. You don't need any skills. If you want to volunteer, you need to contact Habitat either by email, and their email address is flood@habitatwc.org. Or you can stop by their temporary office at 600 Mamaroneck Avenue in Village Trustee Tony Fava's insurance agency. Fava has donated the space to Habitat, and he's been on the site at Howard Avenue almost daily.
Local relief agencies also are working to coordinate their efforts and ask for your patience as they set up a process for accepting donations. In the meantime, the Red Cross shelter at Mamaroneck High School remains open as of April 26th, housing about 30 families at night. And the United Way has established its 211 phone number to act as a referral number. If you have internet phone service, though, dial 1-800-899-1479. St. Thomas Church at Mount Pleasant and Boston Post Roads is providing goods from its thrift shop at no charge to people with immediate and pressing need. But please, the church is not able to take donations of goods. And of course, money is always appreciated. Checks may be written to any of the following agencies. Just be sure to write Mamaroneck Flood Relief in the memo line. So you can donate to the United Way, Habitat for Humanity, Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force, the Hispanic Resource Center, and Washingtonville Housing Alliance. Also, some of the local agencies themselves were victims of the flood, including the CAP Center, the food pantry at the Hunger Task Force, which was completely wiped out, and My Sister's Place.
A new organization is open just in time. It can help furnish or refurnish damaged home furniture. Amy Schachtel has the details.
Furniture Share House is Westchester's Furniture Bank. We are a community project of the Junior League of Westchester on the Sound. We've been very lucky to have generous funding from them that enabled us to commence our operations. We collect donations of used furniture from the general public in our warehouse facility at the Westchester County Airport, and ordinarily we accept referrals from agencies all around the county who will come to our warehouse with their clients to take free furniture. In light of what's happened down here in Mamaroneck, what we would like to do is, and what we're working to do, is start a local collection site here in Mamaroneck. We're receiving dozens of calls a day from residents of Larchmont Mamaroneck who want to donate to help their neighbors down here in Mamaroneck who lost so much in the flood. So we're working to establish a local collection site. One of the problems we have right now is that the families who need the furniture can't take it yet. So we are still working on setting up this site, but it probably will not be up and running until the middle of next week. May 1st.
Okay, is there a phone number or a website that people can log on to?
Yes, we would ask people who would like to donate furniture to go to our website, which is www.furnituresharehouse.org. Easy to remember.
Okay.
And we will be updating our website with details about this collection site when we have it all worked out. And at that point, people can contact us, and we will let them know how they can either deliver the furniture themselves if possible, or we will also be arranging pickups of furniture to bring it down there. And then if people need to get furniture, the way to do that is to contact the Washingtonville Housing Alliance or the Hispanic Resource Center, which are both acting as referral agencies for us. So you go there, provide your information to them, and they will then provide you with a referral to Furniture Share House to be able to take some furniture when we get our collection site up and running.
Once again, I would like you to give that website address.
It's www.furnituresharehouse.org.
And also the names of the places where
the referring
people...
agencies, Washingtonville Housing Alliance.
Yes.
Their telephone number is 698-4633, or Hispanic Resource Center, and their number is 835-1512.
The community, big and small or young and not so young, also is helping. The Cub Scouts and Larchmont Mamaroneck Little League organized a canned food drive to help the food pantry. The Mamaroneck Avenue School Flood Relief Team is working to help families from that school and is accepting gift cards to the AMP, Kohl's, CVS, Home Depot, Payless Shoes, and Target. They will be distributed according to the committee's assessment of need. Mamaroneck High School students have their own efforts. Imani A. Carrison explains.
On Sunday, April 15th, a tragic storm hit our town severely, leaving some people homeless and others were scarred with the loss of memories and photo albums. In this unfortunate time, Mamaroneck High School has constructed a drive to collect items ranging from toothbrushes, towels, plastic gloves, and many other toiletries to provide for those families who are in need. Mamaroneck High School's post gym has also been a quiet place for those who lost their homes to sleep and relax until their homes are fixed up and they are ready to get back on their feet. If you do have the time, please donate only new things because that would be greatly appreciated. With Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Imani A. Carrison.
In other news, Glenna Gray has a story about personnel and budget matters in the Mamaroneck School District.
The superintendent of Mamaroneck School System, Dr. Paul Freed, will need to fill 2 vacancies in his cabinet. 2 assistant superintendents will be leaving the district at the end of June. The assistant superintendent for administration and personnel and the assistant superintendent for business operations. Ms. Carletti will become the superintendent for human resources in Baldwin, New York. And Dr. Grucci will serve as assistant superintendent for business and technology in the Merrick School District, also in New York. The school board and Dr. Freed will be interviewing several applicants to fill the 2 vacancies in Dr. Freed's cabinet. It is tenure time again, and the school board has awarded 37 educators with tenure. The administrators include the Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics, and an Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. The other educators receiving tenure represent multiple areas of learning: 2nd grade teacher, 4th grade teacher, special education teachers, English, and science. As usual, the budget is ready for your vote next month. This year, the budget is just under $112 million. This figure produced a tax rate increase of 6.4%. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
Also, the Mamaroneck School Board adopted a budget for next year of just under $112 million. That's a 7.81% increase over last year and translates to a tax increase of about 6.45%. The vote on the budget and for trustees is Tuesday, May 15th at your local elementary school from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now play ball on a new field. Amy Schechtel hits a home run with this story.
Central Elementary School has a new 2-field athletic complex for girls soccer, softball, lacrosse, field hockey tournaments, and for baseball, evenings and weekends. Joan George, physical education teacher at Central and longtime soccer coach, says, and I quote, "It's a dream come true." Ms. George partnered with Mamaroneck Athletic Director Barry Soman and Kayla and John Serrano, soccer parents, all shared in the ribbon-cutting celebration. The MHS varsity team coach, Diane Campbell, also stated that the new field renovation has improved the varsity team so much with new fencing and infield dugouts. A freshman center fielder for the varsity team, Lynn Greenberg, and I quote said, "It's a lot nicer. This field is a real home run." For Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Amy Schachtel.
Calling all aspiring filmmakers, Don Lewis has your big break.
Well, it's that time of year again. Larchmont-Mamaroneck Cable Television is having its 8th annual Almost Anything Goes video contest. There are 3 age categories, kindergarten through 8th grade, high school, and adult. The subject categories are public affairs, documentary, drama, comedy, PSA, advertisements, art, and music. Prizes are $100 for best video in each age group, awards for excellence, 1 in each category, and top prize is a digital camcorder. Submission deadline is no later than 6 p.m. on Friday, May 11th. Please do not send your original. Drop-off locations are LMC-TV Studio 1 at Mamaroneck High School, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. through 10 p.m., 698-6808. LMC-TV Headquarters, Mamaroneck Town Center, Room 311, 10 a.m. through 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, 381-2002. Or LMC-TV Studio 2 at the library in the Emlyn Theater, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 381-0131. Please call these locations for more information. All prizes will be presented at the 17th Annual LMC-TV Award Night, Thursday, May 24th, 7 p.m. at the Emlyn Theater. For Larchmont-Mamaroneck Cable Television Community News, I'm Don Lewis.
Author Kurt Vonnegut passed away recently. We invited Lee Stringer, an author in his own right and someone who knew Kurt, to come into the studio and remember his friend. Thanks for coming to the studio tonight, Lee. We're talking about something rather sad, which is the death of Kurt Vonnegut. And how did Kurt Vonnegut meet you?
Actually, he knew of me before I actually met him. He had read my first book in manuscript form. Mm-hmm. He loved it. He volunteered to do the foreword and to introduce me at the launch party.
As a matter of fact, he called you the new Jack London.
The new Jack London.
Just at a time when we need one, he said.
I don't know what he meant by that, but it sounds great. No, Kurt was very generous to other authors, but he wasn't generous in the respect that if he didn't like your work, he'd back it up. Mm-hmm. But if he liked your work, he was very generous.
And the memorial service was in New York City?
Yes, it was at the Algonquin, which is a great hotel, great room. And I thought it would be a somber affair, him being German and everything, but they came in with the Mummers, you know, a 3-piece jazz thing, and da 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 da, doom, doom. And then when they finished, they did the da 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 da. Yeah. So it wasn't too bad. The best line was his son quoted, and that was when he was 20 years old. Kurt's son got published for the first time, 2-page article in a magazine, and he only got $45 for it. And he was complaining to Kurt about this, and Kurt says, well, look at it this way. How much do you think it would cost to take out a 2-page ad saying I can write? So that was very wise and warm response.
Well, he was known for his humor in his, and also for using common language. Is that something that attracted him to your work? Because your first novel was Grand Central Winter.
Right. But I'd like to clear something up. I hate to do this, but it's a big point with me. I'm writing a novel now, a work of fiction. First book was not a work of fiction, therefore not a novel. But the first book, what he said he liked about it, he called it a work story. And I asked him what he meant by that. He says, well, you lived it. and now you're telling it. That to me is a work story.
And that was his stuff. I mean, a
Yes,
lot of his stuff
absolutely.
was autobiographical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kilgore Trout, we all knew who he was.
Sure.
He was his alter ego. And those kind of jabs at literary society come from his days when he was a science fiction writer, and everybody poo-pooed him in the literary circles as not being worthy of their time because it was science fiction.
Yeah. You got something at the memorial service that you wanted to show us?
Yes.
What is this?
This image, there's an image. This, is this the camera? Is this
Yeah,
good? Are they
yeah.
getting it? This image here, Kurt drew years ago. It's a line drawing of an open cage, and that was on the program at the memorial. And I think it's appropriate for Kurt because he was 84. He was very tired, and he was deeply, deeply disappointed by the madness the human race seems determined to, hellbound to race towards. And it broke his heart. So it's as well that he's no longer suffering through this. And if we cry for anyone, it's going to be for us sorry souls left here to deal with it.
It was a theme running through many of his books, and I was going to ask you if he had strong feelings about what's going on these days, and I imagine he did.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not just feelings, not just the stats, but I think this was something that invaded every waking moment of his life. To realize that the human, like when he came into prominence, the human race seems to be moving towards light.
Yes.
You know, and
After
it swept and began to sweep him up in it. He was swept up in that wave. That's when he became very popular.
Yeah.
And now to see it all just relentlessly going the other direction, I mean, it affects me, and it certainly affected him.
Well, I thank you for coming in and sharing those memories of Kurt Vonnegut.
Thank you for having me.
Maura, we certainly had a good time at the Sunny Awards, didn't we?
We sure did. It was a great event.
Back on April 22nd, we need to congratulate the hard-working staffs and supporters of both libraries, Mamaroneck and Larchmont. They were presented with Sunny Awards at the LMC-TV's annual event, Sunday, April 22nd. The prize is named after Sonny Goldberg, a public access television pioneer, and it recognizes those who have exhibited a steadfast and selfless commitment to Larchmont Mamaroneck community.
Tonight we're celebrating them, and we're also celebrating the volunteers and communities that support our libraries.
When asked about this year's unusual selection of 2 institutions instead of people, Board President Mike Charles explained, "Our libraries are not just about books. They're vital, exciting places that offer lectures, classes, and cultural nourishment. They've also done a great job keeping up with technology." Both libraries have announced new building initiatives. Mamaroneck's plan is to double the size of their facility as they renovate and modernize an aging building, and Larchmont's project is going to focus on renovating their children's room. The Sunny Award is LMC-TV's annual fundraising dinner, and it was held, as you know, at the Mamaroneck Beach and Tennis Club. Thanks again for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Mike Witch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. We'll see you next week. More on the flood disaster.
And the difficulty of finding affordable replacement homes as the Red Cross shelter closes.
How much do you know about the Sound? Long Island Sound, that is.
Locals are making news on stage and on screen.
Party for the schools.
And flower power. Those stories and more coming up on this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Welcome to this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Mike Witch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Our top story. Though it seems like we've hit a calm after the storm, flood relief efforts continue as officials scramble to find housing for everyone made homeless by the April 15th nor'easter. The Red Cross closed its shelter at Mamaroneck High School on May 2nd, having housed 12 people the night before. The Journal News reports that one family of 7 still had no place to call home. The Eugenio family's landlord told them that he was not going to repair their apartment on Underhill Avenue, that mold and gas odors made uninhabitable. Part of the problem is the general difficulty of finding affordable housing in this community, whether long-term or short-term. Anna Denoy, the Director of Housing and Community Services for the town of Mamaroneck, told the Journal News that many families with children in the school district want to stay, but there's a lack of housing as most of the rentals are in the flooded-out areas of Mamaroneck. Landlords who are interested in renting properties can call Town of Mamaroneck Community Services for information, and the telephone number is 914-381-7840. That's 914-381-7840.
There are many people offering help. FEMA is still here at the Mamaroneck Town Center 7 days a week. Many other service agencies also have offices at the Town Center, like the Small Business Administration and Mamaroneck Community Services. Last week, Town of Mamaroneck Supervisor Valerie O'Keefe appeared on this show and urged people to come to the Town Center and get the help they need. And the town has posted this advice on its website. If your home, now not your personal belongings, but your home, suffered significant damage, you may want to file a tax assessment grievance application with the town assessor's office. Grievance day is the third Tuesday in June this year, June 19th. Applications must be filed between the 1st and 19th of June. Also, the Internal Revenue Service has extended the income tax filing deadline to June 23rd for flood victims in Westchester County.
Mike, I have to mention the canned food drive sponsored by the Cub Scouts and Larchmont Mamaroneck Little League. Their goal was to collect 500 cans of vegetables for the food pantry, which was wiped out in the flood. At last report, they'd collected over 1,400 cans. This is a community that cares, and that's just one example of a relief effort. Mamaroneck High School students came out to volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, and Habitat is hard at work in the community, helping to rebuild homes and buildings. James Killeran of Habitat Westchester says so far they've worked on 27 homes and assessed damages in another 85 and had over 600 volunteers.
We'd love to get professional volunteers. We need volunteers during the week, which would be very helpful, and that would be great for us to be able to have like Taconic Builders donate a day of their time. And if we could do that, that would be a very big help to us.
Where do you need their help?
They could show up at 600 Mamaroneck Avenue, and then we'll delegate them out to different houses to help to lead teams of people, or to go in with a team of their people and help someone sheetrock a home or gut out mold, etc.
Habitat also has its eye on preventing flooding.
Of what we are doing in terms of helping to begin a little bit to help take some of the debris so it won't fall in the rivers to clog up and make it a smaller river that will overflow quickly.
According to the Journal News, Mamaroneck's village manager is now investigating the emergency personnel's response time to a fire that killed a 78-year-old man during the nor'easter. Jacques Kirsch died April 16th in a fire at his home on Knollwood Avenue. The roads were severely flooded by the storm that morning. It took emergency help 30 minutes to reach the house. Trucks had to go up to Playland Parkway in Rye to circumvent flooding rather than make the 3 to 4 minute trip directly up Mamaroneck Avenue to the Harbor Heights area where Kirsch lived. Village manager Len Verastro says he's gathering information on the emergency phone calls, dispatch times, and response times. Kirsch's family wants to have an emergency vehicle stationed at the joint Westchester Waterworks on Mamaroneck Avenue so the Harbor Heights section will not be isolated again during flood.
In other news, the village of Larchmont approved its budget, calling for a tax increase of 3.9%, which is the lowest increase in 5 years. There were virtually no changes from the budget proposed in March. And still no decision on a fire chief. As you may have heard, the village board wants to install a paid chief, but volunteer firefighters object, and we'll of course keep you posted. Mike, what's May 15th?
I think it's school budget voting day.
It sure is. May 15th is the day to vote on the school budget and to elect 2 trustees to the Mamaroneck Board of Education. The final budget is just under $112 million, with a budget increase of 7.8% and a tax rate hike of just under 6.5%. This tax raise is comparable to that of other Westchester districts, which are mostly in the 6 to 7% range. For the Mamaroneck Public Schools, polls will be open at the local elementary schools from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Don't forget to vote, Tuesday, May 15th.
A new survey by the Environmental Protection Agency shows that Westchester residents who live near Long Island Sound are wary about the water quality when it comes to swimming and fishing. But while most are concerned about the environment, many have not changed behaviors that can actually harm the Sound, like over-fertilizing their lawns or washing cars near street drains that carry chemicals directly to the Sound. The survey was conducted last spring and just recently reported in the Journal News. Taking part in that study were 1,220 residents who live within 15 miles of the Sound. That's inside the watershed. Nancy Seligson is surprised at how many people are unaware of the Sound. She's a councilwoman in the town of Mamaroneck and a member of the Long Island Sound Study Committee, which is charged with saving the estuary. The survey is a wake-up call, she says, for local officials and environmental activists, reminding them that teaching people about the Sound must be an ongoing process. People don't feel connected to the Sound, she says, and most don't understand how they impact the water. We live in the western part of the Sound, which is narrower and shallower than the area off, say, Connecticut. Here, the Sound is shaped like a funnel. Nitrogen and pollution concentrates in the water and has a hard time flushing out. So we experience outbursts of low or even no oxygen in the summer. While officials say the water is generally safe, they also take precautions. Whenever more than a half-inch of rain falls, Westchester County Health Department closes 7 beaches in Mamaroneck and New Rochelle. History shows the pollution washed into the Sound brings higher levels of bacteria. In the beach at Harbor Island, for example, bathers must remain inside a large semicircle marked off by the Gunder Boom, that floating screen that filters out bacteria. By the way, Nancy Seligson has an article about Long Island Sound in this month's Autobahn magazine. Amy Schachtel, she knows how to have a blooming good time.
This coming May 23rd, a terrific way to enjoy the spring season. The Larchmont Mamaroneck Center for Continuing Education has designed a tour of 2 of Westchester's beautiful public gardens, the Lasden and the Arboretum in Somers. Eleanor Hoffman, a professional horticulturist and landscape designer, will be the tour leader. A luncheon at Crabtree's Kittle House will be followed by a visit to the PepsiCo Sculpture Garden. And while at PepsiCo, the landscape designs of the late Russell Page will be the focus of a discussion. For more information regarding this terrific event, call 914-698-9126. That's 914-698-9126. Weekdays only from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Amy Schachtel.
The town and village of Mamaroneck were honored for their Long Island Sound practices. Don Lewis explains.
Though it's called the Long Island Sound, it's as much a part of the Westchester area as well as Connecticut. In 1989, a man named Len Miller created an organization called Sound Waters. The purpose of this organization was to protect this body of water through education. The town of Mamaroneck was honored by Sound Waters for its commitment to the stewardship of the Sound. At the organization's headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, on April 25th of this year. Sound Waters has recently announced the launching of a new program called Sound Harbors that encourages residents to become more involved in preserving their community's environmental health. Speaking of launching, the 3-masted schooner Sound Waters, all 80 feet of it, is scheduled to sail into Mamaroneck Harbor sometime between May and September to collaborate on public activities, such as floating sails for school groups. Ecology sails are planned, as well as public sails, where 3-hour sails will cost adults $30 and children will be charged $20. Nancy Seligson, Town of Mamaroneck Councilwoman, was recognized by founder Len Miller for her long-standing work in the preservation of the Sound. She was instrumental in getting anti-idling legislation passed, as well as creating more awareness to the need of restoring streams and riverbanks to their natural beauty by de-weeding and ridding them of garbage. The organization is currently involved in such related projects as creating more parks, boat launches, and other facilities in order to further enhance public access to the Sound. The public is encouraged to help. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Don Lewis.
Glenna Gray tells when you'll be able to get back in the swim of things at the Hommocks Pool.
As the warm weather approaches, many people think of swimming and what is happening with the Hommocks Pool. The pool has been closed for renovations since April 1st and will probably remain closed until the end of May. The Town Recreation Department has been notified by the Mamaroneck Board of Education that the pool will remain closed for approximately 4 more weeks to complete the required work on the deck surface. Daily recreation swim hours will start as soon as possible after the work is completed. Please check the website for updates. Renewal applications will be mailed out June 4th, 2007. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
A fun event, and it supports our schools. Amy Schachtel knows how and where to party.
Saturday, May 19th at 6:30 p.m., Mamaroneck Schools Foundations will host its 5th annual gala and auction. This year's theme is Celebrate Spring. The event takes place at the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club. Over the past 5 years, the foundation has raised over $1.5 million for the Mamaroneck schools. This year's live and silent auctioneer will be morning show DJ Jim Kerr of Q104. He will be assisted by Assemblyman George Latimer. There are some great prizes offered, such as vacations to Park City, Utah, Jackson Hole, and Lake Placid. Signed electric guitars from Bon Jovi and Fall Out Boy. Name your own sandwich at the Larchmont Tavern. Tickets to Z100's Jingle Ball, and a 2-ticket package to the sold-out Police concert at Madison Square Garden, and much more. During the cocktail hour, you'll enjoy the music of the High School Chamber Orchestra. This popular event is selling out quickly, so call the MSF office at 914-698-9079. That's the MSF office at 914-698-9079. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Amy Schachtel.
Local Boy Makes Good. Is that the plot of a new movie or a new filmmaker? Glenna Gray tells the story.
A Los Angeles filmmaker who grew up in Larchmont has written a what-if film about a politically active Democrat who vowed to move to Canada if George W. Bush were re-elected to office. Well, the character does move to Canada. Larchmonter Marshall Louis' film, Blue State, achieved a slot in the Tribeca Film Festival. Blue State was written and directed by Louis. Mr. Louis' story tells us about John Locke, a political blogger who gives up everything to devote himself to John Kerry's 2004 presidential campaign. Logue's blog traces his experiences in the Ohio campaign to his move to Canada. Blue State also stars Anna Paquin, who plays the role of Chloe, alongside Brecken Meyer, who is Logue. Chloe is a fellow liberal. Mr. Louis states, "I've always been interested in politics, but a lot of other people my age became involved in politics for the first time after seeing what Bush had done during his first term and after 9/11 and the beginning of the Iraq War." Louis has made several short films: Balkanization, The Benefits of Drinking Whiskey, Future Imperfect. However, Blue State is his first feature-length film. Mr. Louis tells us that he always wanted to make movies. He wrote his first screenplay at age 12. Throughout high school, he participated in the PACE program. He wrote and directed 2 of his own plays during his junior and senior terms. Marshall credits PACE teachers Marty Barlick and John Fredrickson for his success. After graduation from Mamaroneck High School, he attended Harvard and then on to Columbia University Film School. Marshall Lowy is the son of Glenn Lowy and the former mayor of Larchmont, Cheryl Lowy. We thank Callie Schwartzer, a senior at Mamaroneck High School, for this information. PACE stands for Performing Arts Curriculum Experience. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
There's not just big screen talent in our community, but the Great White Way as well. Amy Schachtel goes Legally Blonde with a Broadway producer.
Barbara Whitman, thank you for joining me here tonight.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
It's nice to be here.
Barbara, you have a resume, a list of wonderful things you're doing, but we have to start off with what's going to be happening May 20th. Tell me.
On May 20th, I'm going to be speaking at the Larchmont Library.
What about?
About my new Broadway musical that I'm producing, Legally Blonde the Musical. And I'm going to give the inside story of how the show was created and how we got to Broadway.
And how long have you been running now?
The show just opened on Sunday, the 29th of April. We started in San Francisco this winter. We had a wonderful out-of-town tryout, and we've been on Broadway previewing for 3 weeks, and we hope to be there for a lot of years.
Well, I heard you opened with rave reviews.
It's been really exciting. The show is so much fun. It's the movie version, a musical version of the movie Legally Blonde.
Which so many of with our children.
Many people love it. It's a wonderful story of Elle Woods, a California blonde whose boyfriend breaks up with her and she's devastated. So she decides to follow him to Harvard Law, and she ends up becoming a lawyer and finding that she's really good at being a lawyer and she's really smart. And it's a wonderful story, and it's a wonderful, heartfelt message about being true to yourself.
It is a great, I remember, I loved the movie.
And if you love the movie, you will love the show. It's just like the movie, only you add songs, singing and dancing. It's wonderfully directed and choreographed by Jerry Mitchell, who did Hairspray and Full Monty and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and he won a Tony for La Cage aux Folles. Everyone's really, really talented in the cast. It's wonderful.
So now, when you're at the library on May 20th, what is the lecture really going to be about? Give us a little inside scoop.
Well, it'll be how someone on every Broadway show is different. On this particular show, one man, Hal Luftig, had the idea that this would make a great musical. He thought the journey of Elle was really ripe for telling through song, and how he brought his whole team together. How the show was. It took 5 years. It takes about 5 years to get a Broadway musical written and together, and with an out-of-town tryout. It's a very, very big project, and there's a lot that happens before you get to New York. And also, I'll give a preview of the whole award season. We're going to be, by May 15th is when the Tony Award nominations come out, and hopefully, knock on wood, we'll have some. And I'm also a Tony Awards voter, so I can give sort of the inside scoop on what it's like. I see every single Broadway show every year, and I get the privilege to vote for who hopefully, I get to pick the winners of who gets to be. So you can hear my predictions. You'll get to hear all about the Tony Awards.
I definitely want to be there for that. And you have another show that you're involved with on Broadway right now. What is that?
That's the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. We're in our 3rd year. We just had Maura join the cast, who's a wonderful commentator who you may have seen on CBS Sunday Morning. You may have seen him on The Daily Show. He used to be on The Daily Show.
Certainly.
He's very, very funny. He's wonderful in the show. And it's the great thing about that show, it's also a wonderful show for families. But the great thing about that show is we have 4 audience volunteers who come on the show who join the show every night, and they're part of our spelling bee. And so the show changes every single night. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, that audience participation is great for the life of the show. Keeps it alive every time.
Yes.
That's terrific. So again, let's get back to what you're going to be doing at the library.
I'm going to speak
that will be
on Sunday, May 20th, at 4 p.m. at the Larchmont Library. So come and hear the inside scoop of a Broadway musical.
Well, you're an involved Larchmont community person.
Yes.
And we're very happy to get the info, and we're all going to come over to the library, and we're all going to try and get tickets.
Great.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Bye.
And that's it for this week's edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
If you'd like to see this program again, you can. It's on every weekday night at 7. We record one show each week. It's replayed on this channel, LMC-TV, channel 75.
Or if you want to request to see it, you can. Call LMC-TV after 4 in the afternoon during the week at 698-6808 and ask to see the new show, and they'll try to put it on at a time that's convenient for you to watch.
And remember, this program is an all-volunteer effort, and we could sure use a few more volunteers, either behind the scenes or as a reporter, or maybe you'd like to shoot some video. Whatever the case, we need you.
If you want to volunteer to help us put this program on, we've got something for you to do. Stop by some Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios and see how we do what we do.
The studios are in Mamaroneck High School, the Palmer Avenue side, just up the stairs, across from the landmark Walter's hot dog stand. We get things started around 7 p.m. We'd love to see you.
Also, if you have any comments or suggestions or some video of an event that you'd like us to put on this new show, bring it to the studio or write to us at Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News in care of LMC-TV, Mamaroneck Town Center, 740 West Boston Post Road, Mamaroneck, New York, 10543.
Thanks again for watching LMC Community News. I'm Michael Witsch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. We'll see you next time.